I once met a monk who had spent 40 years in complete silence. Not a word escaped his lips. For 4 decades, he lived in quiet contemplation, observing the world with eyes that seemed to penetrate the essence of life. When I finally asked him what he had learned, I expected some cryptic mantra, but what he revealed struck me deeper. He leaned toward me, his eyes calm as still water, and simply said, "Silence is not absence. Silence is presence." I stayed there, confused and intrigued. What does that mean in a world filled with noise, notifications, and endless chatter? Then it hit me like a stone dropped into a serene lake. He was talking about a presence so profound that words become unnecessary. He was talking about being fully alive in every moment without the crutch of explanations, opinions, or validation from anyone. For 40 years, he had watched thoughts, emotions, and desires rise and fall like clouds in the sky. He had only witnessed. In that witnessing, he discovered a truth. Our life is happening in the present. Yet we spend it running, chasing, or escaping it. Silence, he said, taught him that the loudest chaos outside is insignificant compared to the quiet universe inside. Imagine standing at the edge of a mountain at dawn. The air is crisp, the sky painted with shades of rose and gold. The wind carries no voices but the whisper of the earth itself. That moment is pure presence. No word is necessary to feel alive. Every human being longs for this, even if unknowingly. We fill our lives with noise because we fear silence. But what if silence isn't something to fear, but a doorway? A doorway to understanding the mind, heart, and existence. The monk explained that for 40 years, he witnessed how people react to life, with resistance, with grasping, with fear. Some people spend their entire existence trying to avoid discomfort, never realizing that discomfort is the teacher, not the enemy. Imagine a river flowing around rocks. The water doesn't fight the stones, it embraces them, flows around them. That is what silence teaches. Flow around the obstacles of life instead of smashing against them. We often think that speaking, reacting, or rushing proves that we are alive, but the monk showed me a different truth. The most profound power lies in the stillness within. And in that stillness, clarity emerges. Thoughts that once seemed overwhelming dissolve. Emotions that once ruled you soften into understanding. Life, which once appeared chaotic, aligns with a rhythm you can only perceive when the mind rests. He told me that in silence one realizes how much of life is noise, not life. We chatter, we argue, we compare, we worry. All of it is the mind's way of avoiding the moment itself. But the moment doesn't need our commentary. The moment simply exists. And when we stop adding layers of thought and fear, we begin to see the raw, beautiful truth. Life is already enough. Can you imagine living each day without the burden of proving anything to anyone? Without the endless chase for validation? Just being fully, completely, unapologetically present. This, he said, is the essence of freedom. I asked him if it was lonely, spending 40 years in silence. His eyes twinkled with a humor I didn't expect. Lonely? He said, I have never been more connected to everything. When you stop speaking, you start listening. When you stop reacting, you start understanding. When you stop trying to control, you start living. It made me wonder, what if all the noise we cling to is a shield? A shield to avoid seeing ourselves clearly. The monk's life was a mirror showing me that the world outside is a reflection of the world inside. And the world inside needs silence to reveal its depth. Picture this, a forest at night. The trees stand in quiet grandeur. The moonlight filters through the leaves, and every sound is magnified. In silence, every detail becomes vivid, alive, sacred. This is what he meant when he said silence is presence. He taught me another truth, that the moments we fear, the pain we avoid, the uncertainty we resist, are exactly what silence exposes. And in exposing them, it transforms them. Fear becomes understanding. Pain becomes insight. Uncertainty becomes freedom. Silence is not emptiness. It is full of lessons waiting to be noticed. I realize that most people run from these lessons. Yet, in that challenge lies the reward. A mind that no longer trembles at discomfort. A heart that no longer clings to fleeting pleasure. A spirit that no longer fears the unknown. The monk showed me that words are often traps. They are imperfect containers of truth. Life itself cannot be captured fully by language. By speaking, we filter experience through our biases, our fears, our desires, But in silence, experience flows directly. It is raw, immediate, pure. And then he shared something even more striking. Silence is not for isolation, but for communion with it. When you are silent, you notice the subtle rhythms of life. The heartbeat of the earth, the energy in people's eyes, the invisible threads connecting every living thing. It is like tuning an instrument. At first, you hear nothing. But with patience, you start to hear the music. That music is always there. We just drown it in noise. And here comes the twist. The greatest wisdom he shared is not only for monks. It is for everyone. The truth of presence, of silence, of witnessing without reaction is accessible to all. You don't need 40 years to start. You only need the courage to pause, to step back from the endless cycle of noise, and demand a moment of stillness for yourself. Start with 1 minute, one breath, one observation of what is happening inside. Then 2, then 5. And eventually, you realize that the world has not changed, but you have. You begin to respond instead of react. You begin to understand instead of judge. You begin to live instead of merely exist. And when that happens, the external chaos loses its power over you. The storm can rage around you, but your mind remains a clear lake, reflecting the sky without disturbance. The monk smiled as he said, "Silence is not the absence of sound, but the presence of yourself in every sound." I understood then that all my frantic attempts to seek peace, to find answers, to grasp life by its edges, were unnecessary. Life itself is patient. Life itself is kind. It doesn't demand that you rush. It only asks that you be present enough to notice. I began to reflect on the choices I had made, the moments I had ignored because I was too busy thinking, talking, or worrying. Every lost sunrise, every unobserved smile, every hurried conversation that I barely registered. All of it reminded me how precious presence is. Presence is a treasure we overlook because we confuse activity with accomplishment, talking with understanding, doing with being. The monk taught me that mastery of life does not come from what you accumulate, what you achieve, or what you say. It comes from how deeply you inhabit each moment, how fully you breathe the air, how clearly you witness the unfolding of reality. And then he said something that pierced me with both simplicity and depth. If you can live in silence, you can live anywhere. If you can witness yourself without judgment, you can withstand anything. If you can embrace the present without clinging, you will never be lost. Imagine that. A life free from the tyranny of thought, unshaken by opinion, unbent by circumstance. Not a life without challenges, but a life in which challenges no longer shake the foundation of your being. The foundation is your awareness, your presence, your connection to the unspoken rhythm of existence. I realize that the world teaches us the opposite. It trains us to fear stillness, to resist reflection, to escape discomfort. It teaches us to talk when we should listen, to act when we should pause, to fill silence with meaningless words. And yet the monk's 40 years of quiet existence revealed a secret that contradicts everything we assume. Silence is not emptiness. It is abundance. Silence is not weakness, it is power. Silence is not loneliness, it is the deepest form of connection. He taught me that the simplest acts, observing a tree, listening to a bird, feeling the rhythm of your breath, contain more wisdom than any lecture or book. Because in silence, life teaches itself directly to you, without interference, without distortion. And here is the final twist. You don't need to live like a monk to embody this truth. You don't need to sit for decades in a monastery. You only need to practice one thing: conscious attention. Notice the world without immediate judgment. Notice your thoughts without immediate reaction. Notice your emotions without immediate suppression. In that noticing, silence emerges naturally and presence blooms. Every breath becomes a doorway. Every pause becomes a teacher. Every moment, no matter how small, becomes sacred. And the more you practice, the more you see that silence is not a withdrawal from life. It is an immersion into life in its fullest form. It is the realization that every word spoken, every thought entertained, every emotion felt, is part of a grand tapestry. And when observed without clinging, it reveals its pattern. The monk's 40 years were a map for the mind, a guide to the heart, a manual for the soul. And the truth he revealed is simple, yet revolutionary. Presence is everything. Silence is its gateway, and awareness is the bridge that connects the two. You will face chaos, disappointment, and uncertainty. You will encounter voices that demand your attention, thoughts that insist on ruling you, and fears that threaten to consume you. But if you can find a moment of silence, even a brief one, you can step into the center of your life. From there, everything changes. The rush of the world no longer dictates your pace. The judgments of others no longer dictate your worth. The turbulence of circumstance no longer dictates your inner peace. Presence, awareness, and silence create a sanctuary within you. A sanctuary that no one can take away. A sanctuary that is always with you, even in the midst of noise, even in the storm. So, I challenge you, take one step today toward silence. One breath, one pause, one moment of observation. Let the world rush on, let the chatter continue. You don't need to fix anything. You don't need to explain anything. Simply be, witness, breathe, observe. And slowly, imperceptibly, you will begin to realize that life is not something to be conquered or tamed. Life is not a problem to be solved. Life is a presence to be inhabited. And in inhabiting it fully, without distraction, without avoidance, without fear, you will discover a freedom more profound than anything spoken, a peace more enduring than any achievement, and a connection more intimate than any word ever spoken. And when you understand this, you begin to see that silence is not a void. It is a garden. It is a river. It is the sky itself. It holds everything, and in it, you find yourself. I invite you to take that first step today. Pause, breathe, observe, listen, and let the truth of presence, revealed by a monk who spent 40 years in silence, awaken within you the life you have been missing, the depth you have been avoiding, and the freedom you have been longing for. You don't need to wait 40 years. Start now, right now. Let the silence speak. Let presence guide. Let life reveal itself to you in ways words never could. And as you begin this journey, remember that each moment of stillness is a seed. Each breath is nourishment. Each pause is a doorway. Step through it and you will discover that the most powerful truths, the deepest insights, and the greatest freedom are not found in action, noise, or words, but in the silent presence of your own being. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to reflect, leave a comment sharing what silence has taught you, hit like if you feel inspired to embrace more presence in your life, and subscribe to Echoes of Greatness for more transformative wisdom that awakens the mind, nourishes the heart, and expands the soul. Your journey to deeper awareness begins today.